got it. We got
We'll
it.
get it there.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yet. Not in the
They're in the
ACC
Big 12.
yet.
And you all are there until I believe you said the grant of rights expires in 2025. Is that when you have until
2025? Yep.
2025? So if you decide not to sign, you are free to go anywhere without having to pay a buyout. But
as long as we give that 18-month notice.
As long as you give an 18-month notice. So
Yep.
What do you think right now, as Big 12 as it is right now? Do you see there being a potential power shift? Because for the longest time, before I moved out here, the only thing I really knew about the Big 12 was Oklahoma, Texas. I didn't even really know who else was in the Big 12. I mean, I figured by default that Oklahoma State because same state. But what do you see there being a power shift now with Lincoln leaving and going to California?
I think we're already seeing it even before he left. Oklahoma didn't win the Big 12 this year. Baylor came out of nowhere. Nobody expected Baylor. Dave Aranda is looking like a really good coach now. And now Lincoln Riley is over at USC. Oklahoma is leaving with Texas to the SEC. So I think the power shift was happening before, Oklahoma heading off to the SEC. So it's definitely going to happen now because Oklahoma is going to be gone. Baylor, I think it's too soon to say anything because Baylor was really good before Dave Aranda got there. Matt Rule had Baylor humming. I mean, he had them humming.
Mm-hmm.
And then last year they had a down year, but they still had Matt Rule's guys there from that. I believe it was 11-win season in, 2019, 2020, something like that.
2019.
So they were really good. So I think Baylor has the potential to be the leader in the Big 12. It's just the jury's still out on Dave Aranda. He looks like a good coach, but it's only the first year of great success since he's been at Baylor. The other team, I guess, would be Oklahoma State with Mike Gundy. The longevity, he's been right there the entire time, but Oklahoma has kind of overshadowed them year after year after year. Sooners are going to be gone, but then you got to remember the teams coming in. The teams coming in. You got BYU coming in. You got Houston coming in. You got Cincinnati coming in. You got UCF coming in. Honestly, I think the team out of all four that have the big potential to take over the Big 12 is BYU. BYU has a great fan base. Their coach, he's proving himself. I thought BYU was going to have a down year because Zach Wilson is gone to the NFL. They didn't miss a beat. In fact, they might have been a little bit better. They owned the Pac-12. They were 5-0 against the Pac-12 South. I consider them the Pac-12 South champs because they whooped them. So it could be BYU, Baylor, and Oklahoma State on the first tier as far as in the next, 5-8 years. And then, who knows what will happen after that. But right now, those are the three teams that I keep my eye on in the Big 12.
No, what do you think about Cincinnati and their chances of making a splash? I mean, they got their feelings hurt in the playoffs this year, but it is no small feat to rattle off, 13 last season, and I think 13 years. I think they had 26 wins in the last two seasons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's no small feat. I mean, coach is doing big things up there. So what do you think about them and the splash they'll make in the conference once they get there?
I think they will make a splash, but the reason I'm putting BYU a little bit higher than Cincinnati is because BYU plays Power Fives year in and year out. They do have some Group of Fives on their schedule, but most of their schedule is a Power Five. I consider BYU a Power Five team because that's what most of their schedule is. So there will be an adjustment period for Cincinnati into the Big 12 because there is a huge difference between playing one or two Power Five teams a year and turning that into, 8 or 9, maybe 10 Power 5 teams per year. So there's going to be an adjustment. I'm not saying they're going to be bad or anything like that. They'll be in the upper tier. I just don't think that they'll be competing for a Big 12 championship right off the bat. I think they'll have to, it'll take a few years for them to get used to the scheduling, the upgrade, all that stuff. But they'll be in the mix. I just don't think championship material immediately. And they're losing a ton of talent. Cincinnati is one of these teams where they don't recruit at an elite level year after year. They recruit okay for a Power Five, for a Group of Five, and moving into the Big 12 is actually going to help with their recruiting. but they kind of remind me of West Virginia, where we recruit okay, but there's that magical year once every 4 or 5 years where the experience catches up with that recruiting. And I think that's what Cincinnati is looking at right now, because they haven't been this good for very long.
Nah, matter of fact, I had completely forgotten about the previous season when they took us down to the wire in the Peach Bowl the previous season.
Yep.
So they're very, very impressive squad, what I've seen of them so far. You were talking about BYU. I think BYU will be all right as long as they don't have Coastal Carolina on their schedule. I said that out loud, didn't I?
Be sure to like and subscribe for content and more on your new home for podcasts and independent music on the Zagniv One Radio Network.